Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. Plenty of things to talk about. We didn't talk about Lazio Torino as the Mackenzie. We have to talk about that. But I think we have to talk even more about the other match Lazio have played against the Torino team, Juventus. Juventus Lazio this Saturday. I said it was a very, very important match, Alistair, because without playing against Torino, with the defeat, surprising defeat against Bologna, it was a very important match for Lazio because Lazio needed points to keep up with the Champions League fight. Unfortunately, not only Lazio lost, but all the other teams. We are waiting to see what Atalanta Inter finish, but all the other teams fighting with Lazio for the Champions League have won. So now the situation is critical. We have plenty of questions to answer today. But first, let me thank all of our Patreon, our supporters. You can subscribe to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. We thank you for your support. So if you like the show, please think about supporting us. Alistair, shall we start from the surprising formation Inzaghi picked for the Juventus match?
Yeah, I guess better there than anywhere else. It was, I don't know, I mean, I felt like after all this time I'd be a bit better prepared to start talking about this, but it's just still leaving me a bit speechless. It's kind of like, not much time has passed since the Bayern Munich game and the decisions that were made in that left us so confused with the defence and Inzaghi being brought up after half an hour and Marasic being put in as centre-back and so on. So then to kind of go in with Marasic playing in the back three for only the second time ever, but this time on the right-hand side of the back three, not the left, leaving Inzaghi on the bench, and then you bring on Patrick. Finally, we can at least go back to our normal back three. Oh, no. Patrick is going to be a wing back, and we're going to keep Marasic at centre back. Now, the first thing I should say is that Adam Marasic has actually quite impressed me when he's played in this position in centre back, considering he's never been there before. But it is just, it's created this kind of total imbalance in my mind where it just doesn't seem to make any sense. And when we're already out of form, already up against it, I just don't understand why this is the part of the team that Inzaghi is experimenting with and not play Pereira from the start or bring in Marucci a bit earlier or, I don't know, try and add a new dimension to this team. Instead, it's just all about Marasic playing centre-back.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the other substitution later, but I don't understand when you have Patrick and Musacchio as options, why do you move Marusic, that probably was the best midfielder for Lazio in the last month or so, and taking out from there where he was very useful and putting in defense. As you said, he didn't play bad. It wasn't the reason why Lazio lost, but definitely you took out a weapon from Lazio. Lulic, who started, didn't play as good as Marusic, not at all. And then honestly, when I saw Patrick coming in, I said, okay, now he brings Patrick back in defense and Marusic go back to his position. And he didn't. And that was surprising. Really, I don't understand, even because we have to say that Patrick was the reason why Juventus scored the second goal, right? So I don't know what's in Inzaghi's mind now, but I really struggle to understand him, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. It's frustrating because I think the biggest cause of frustration for me, anyway, is that the one thing we usually see with Inzaghi is that when we're up against it and the team's not playing well, he kind of goes the other way from experimentation, and instead he relies on the same players. He relies on his most experienced players, the guys who've done it before, and he just kind of waits for things to change, which didn't work at the end of last season, for example, and doesn't generally seem to work all that well. But this time he is actually showing willingness to try something new, and it just seems a bit bizarre because the thing he's decided he wants to, like I said, be a bit more experimental with is part of the team where I'm not so sure about it. It was interesting today to see these stories about Musacchio having a clause in his contract, which means if he hits 10 games, he automatically has to be given a 2-year contract. I just think if that's true and that is weighing in Inzaghi's mind in selection, then why the hell was it put in there in the first place?
But Alistair, now I read the news on Repubblica, but people has to think about it. Musacchio is at the 3rd match with Lazio. So I'm not very good in mathematics, but 3 to get to 10, you need 7 other matches. I know Juventus is very important, but it's not counting as 7 matches, right? So if he played against Juventus, it would have been the 4th match with Lazio. So still other 6 times he had to start before the clause kick in. So really, do we think that Inzaghi didn't play him against Juventus because the clause could kick in 7 matches, not Saturday? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. I said 3 matches he played for Lazio. So, you know, if it starts in 10, then you have 7 matches before this kickoffs. The second thing is, okay, so you sign a player in January knowing that he could play only 3 matches. Are we serious about that? I mean, that's simply crazy. So, again, Musacchio played only 3 matches with Lazio, so he needed a 7. You're in a big emergency, so he could start against Juventus and maybe then don't start any more matches and still you will be fine. So I don't believe this story, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I think the whole way that Musacchio's been dealt with since he arrived has been a bit strange because he came straight into the team and, you know, played on the wrong side to begin with on the left and did quite well there. But then just that one big mistake against Bayern seems to have completely changed things for him.
Yep.
And I think that's a little bit harsh of Inzaghi in my mind, just because if you think about the number of the individual mistakes that are being made at the moment throughout the team, nobody seems to be getting punished as much for them as Musacchio has. Pepe Reina, probably the big one there, who Inzaghi still counts as his number 1, despite having had quite a few mistakes over the course of the last few months. But Patrick is still counted upon time and time again. And yeah, look, I mean, there's no one's innocent really. I mean, Francesco Acerbi's not been in good form recently, and so I think there's no way I'm ever going to suggest that we take him out of the defence. but you know, it just seems a bit unfair to punish Musacchio or to not give him another chance, maybe when there are opportunities there.
Well, yeah, against Crotone, I hope he starts because that's something that, I mean, could happen. The other thing, Alistair, about the substitution, before talking about Pereira Murici, I was surprised to see Leiva substituted so early. And, you know, when I saw him coming out, I was thinking he didn't get a yellow card, right? I didn't see him getting a yellow card. And I thought he was probably one of the best players, Lazio players in the match. So I was really surprised to see Inzaghi making that change, especially because, well, Escalante didn't play as well as Leiva. And probably that was one of the reasons why Lazio allowed those other 2 goals. But yeah, that was quite surprising for me.
Yeah, I think it's just like automatic now, isn't it? He gets to the kind of 55th minute, 60th minute, and Inzaghi just kind of automatically has like some physical reaction where he just turns around and tells Escalante that Lucas Leiva's coming off. So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think in a game like that against Juventus, we said it beforehand, but so often in the past, especially, Lazio needed a big game from Lucas to get a big result in those matches, and he does have a good understanding of how to position himself and help out the rest of the midfield. And, you know, I made a bit of a joke about it at the time, but because it's not really their fault necessarily that Lazio lost the game, but that Inzaghi makes that double change of bringing on Patrick and Escalante, and then within 2 minutes they combine to concede a goal, and then 2 minutes after that, Milinkovic gives away a penalty and it's 3-1, and that that disintegration happens within 5 minutes of the double change. So it's kind of the complete opposite effect, I guess, of what you're hoping for when you're replacing two players. But I just thought it was, again, a performance that lacked a bit of courage, lacked a bit of belief. They looked fragile. They still looked, we talked about post Bayern in the Bologna match that they looked mentally, affected by the Bayern match. I think they still did in this game. It kind of just looked like they've lost a bit of their spark. I mean, everything seems to have gone a bit stale. It doesn't seem to be anything that they're doing particularly well at the moment. Defending badly, they can't score goals, they're making errors. The midfield are at fault for not creating enough chances and not protecting the defence. I mean, it's not been very positive.
But do you seriously think that it's all because of the Bayern defeat? I mean,
no,
we could expect that to lose against Bayern, right? So this is, I'm concerned because if you just need to lose against the best team in Europe to lose confidence, etc., then I'm a little bit surprised and worried about that.
Well, yeah, but this is the thing. I think we have talked about this team being mentally fragile for years, and I agree with you. I don't think it should be a kind of performance or result that really does do their confidence that badly, because if you think about the teams that Bayern have hammered and the team that Bayern are, there's no great disgrace in that happening. But it's more just that, you look at the Inter defeat before then, for example, Lazio, played well in that game, and there were positives for us to take from that game, and there were moments where you can say, on another day, that happens, blah, blah, blah. But in the Bologna and Juve games, it's kind of like, well, fair enough. Like, against Juve, Lazio had themselves in the perfect position to play Juve, to beat Juve, really, because Juve, in the middle of a defensive crisis, playing a kind of new look formation with Bernardeschi as a left back and Danilo in midfield, and all these weird and wonderful things happening. Then Ronaldo drops out of the team, and then suddenly you're 1-0 up after 15 minutes, and you think, well, Lazio can now play on the counter and do their thing. And even so, even in those circumstances, no Ronaldo, no Chiellini, no Bonucci, the rest of it, and you're winning the game, and Lazio still, I felt as soon as they were in front, they were on the back foot for far too much.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the team. We started really well the first 20 minutes, then something changed. I don't know if it's the confidence, especially because, to be honest, I thought this was the worst Juventus of the last 7-8 years. So we had a huge chance Saturday against Juventus, and we didn't take it. Probably the best thing about the match is Fares' performance, right? As Marusic was placed as central defender, Luli and Lazzari injured, Fares started again after I don't know how long, and probably he had the two biggest chances for Lazio on Saturday. But apart from that, I thought he played a good game, especially compared to the other last performance he had with the Lazio, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good point. There's definitely something worth being happy about from this game, because I think Fares had got to the point where he disappointed so often, and then obviously had fitness issues, that it did feel a bit like, well, if he doesn't do something soon, if he doesn't start performing soon, it's going to end up as another Dermisi, as another Johnny. He's going to end up out of the club within 6 months kind of thing, because he's not been up to the level required. So I do hope that that's actually a signal of him improving in the team and understanding the team and so on, rather than just being a one-off. But the fact he's done it against Juventus is a good sign. And hopefully Inzaghi gives him a chance over Lulic, because from what we've seen so far, I really don't think that Lulic should be starting every single match in the way that he seems to be at the moment.
No, he's not playing very well, to be honest with you. We have, as you can imagine, a lot of questions. This usually happens when Lazio lose. And guys, we would love to have the same amount of questions even when Lazio wins. Let's start with Davide, our Patreon, who is asking, if we were in the position last season, I would have said that we're done. But this is an unpredictable season this year. So I think we have a chance to finish in the top 4. Do you agree, Alistair, or it's over pretty much?
Well, yeah, I mean, no, he's right in the sense that it is an incredibly unpredictable season. I think I've said that all along, really. I don't think Lazio really deserve to still be in with a shout, because I don't think Lazio played well enough all season to really merit a top 4 spot. But if you actually look at the table, they are still in it. It might not feel like it right now with the run of form that they're on and the way that they're playing, but the gap is not that big. But it does involve getting past quite a few teams on the way and relying on other teams to slip up. So there is still time. There's still 13 matches left, but they have to turn it around now. Really, Crotone at home is the perfect game to try and turn this around. There, you could not ask for a better match, apart from it maybe not taking place at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, which is, of all Serie A's scheduling, that is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen them do. But it has to start from there for me, Vittorio, if they're going to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say Crotone at 3 o'clock on the Friday is the perfect match to fail again and give away any chances. But okay, I like your optimistic mindset. Even though, with Bayer playing next week, maybe Inzaghi will finally rotate players. Who knows? It didn't happen last time against Sampdoria. So who knows? Plenty, even Andreina, other guys were asking pretty much the same thing. If we can finish in the top 4, if we are risking to be out even of the Europe League, because at the moment we are. Now, it's true that Lazio has to still play another match against Torino. So this would put Lazio in a better position. But going back to Lazio-Torino, Alistair, as expected, Torino didn't show up. The Lazio was there with the referee, the same thing like Juventus-Napoli. The only difference is that this time there hasn't been a decision yet. Everybody was expecting to hear that Lazio got the match won 3-0, but this has been postponed to this week. And rumors are that probably they are going to decide directly to postpone the match, like Juventus-Napoli. So there's a big chance that in April, probably, Lazio will recover this match. Torino has to play even the other match because they postponed the match against Sassuolo on Saturday. So we're going to see if when this match is going to be played. But what's your thought about that?
Well, I think the whole thing is really embarrassing for the league as a whole. I mean, there's no other way about it. For that situation to occur twice, and there being this kind of sense of nobody's really in the wrong about it, but
that's the problem.
It is a joke of a situation to end up in. All you need is a bit of dialogue between the different parties to avoid that situation from occurring, and it seems like absolutely nobody is wanting to do that. So there we are. The most frustrating thing about it is that uncertainty that you're talking about, because what we don't want is 3-0 Lazio, then the Serie A table changes to reflect that Lazio won the game 3-0, but then there's always an asterisk beside it because you have to wait for the appeals, and then they can appeal to the PGC, they can appeal to CONI, and then it can eventually get turned around and get postponed. I mean, I'd rather know right now if that's just... I'm fine with postponing the game. These things happen, it's an awkward season. But I'd just rather know that that's going to happen instead of, the club trying to drag it through the courts and get given a win for it or whatever it may be. It's a kind of what we don't really need right now when things aren't going very well on the pitch, is for this situation to happen off it.
One thing I would add is, why didn't Inzaghi put Parolo on goal? Because he had to deliver the starting 11, right? And we saw him. He completely, he put all the bench players starting except from Armini, who wasn't called for the match. But, we saw Pereira finally starting, Murici, Caicedo, everybody. And on goal, there was still Reina. I mean, put Parolo on goal. You know that they're not there, so or Furlanetto. You made in Italy. You say you made 9 out of 10. Let's put 10 out of 10, right? Put Parolo on goal and do the. I mean, I think Gazzetta dello Sport would have wrote an article the day afterwards complaining, but that would have been so fun for me that
It's classic. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it. It's like the only time that Inzaghi is ever going to name this kind of wild card starting 11 is when he's absolutely sure that the opposition are hundreds of miles away and there's no chance of them turning up. Because, I mean, I think you had Pereira right back. It was an absolutely bizarre team. I mean, yeah, for those guys, it must be a bit frustrating because...
finally starting.
seeing themselves in the starting 11 and knowing that it's not happening, guys. No, bizarre situation, and yeah, I don't know, the images of it at the time as well, where they had to wait 45 minutes for the game to be called off officially, and Danilo Cataldi's like messing around with a camera beside the pitch, and Marco Parolo's dancing, and it's just the whole thing. It's just completely like from another world, honestly.
Alistair, we have a couple of questions about Inzaghi, right? Fuad Mamadov is asking, why do we never discuss a new coach?
I think we do all the time, don't we? Well, no, I mean, look, there is a lot of frustration out there with Inzaghi at the moment from sections of the Lazio support. And this happens every season. It's not like just now people are ignoring talking about it, because it happens all the time. And this is because I think this kind of absolute stubbornness of Inzaghi is his most frustrating quality. And that quality becomes even more frustrating during bad periods of form. Because what you want to see when a team is struggling is that something's being done to help the situation. And although Inzaghi may well be doing a lot behind the scenes to try and help the situation and give the players different instructions or target certain parts of the way the opposition play, whatever it might be, all that we're seeing is the same team being put out every week. None of the players who we think deserve more of a chance being given a chance. And so that's I think what results in a lot of criticism being aimed at Inzaghi.
Yes, to be honest, Lazio was down 3-1 after 65 minutes. And you wait till the last 9 minutes of the match to put in Murici and Pereira. Why? I mean, the match was finished 20 minutes ago. You could have put them after the third goal. It would still be too late. But why wait the last 9 minutes? This is simply something I don't understand. I cannot understand why you never give them a chance. Never.
I think the substitutions throughout this season have been a bit strange, though, in general. I mean, the conversation about squad depth aside, we've seen him do things like, the AC Milan game when he took off Immobile and Milinkovic, and then we've had the games where, I can't think of the examples off the top of my head now, but those matches where we basically needed a goal late on and he just throws everybody onto the pitch at the same time in no particular system or idea of how to play. And I think it's something that Inzaghi has struggled with this season, to be honest, is his substitutions. I don't think he's generally got that many of them right. And yeah, we saw it again on Saturday, like I was saying, with the Patrick and Escalante change that didn't work out.
Yes, and if you remember, a couple of years ago, we played against Juventus, and the match was still, I think it was 2-1 for us, and he took off Immobile and Luis Alberto and put in Nani and Caicedo. So I don't know what have changed in the Simone Inzaghi. Yeah, and the match was still open, and I said, wow, what is he doing? Right, taking off Immobile and Luis Alberto, putting in Nani and Caicedo. So I don't know what happened to Inzaghi throughout the years, why he changed so much. But yeah, as Secret Samadhi is asking, why don't we talk about a new formation? We usually talk every single podcast because we simply don't understand why he doesn't rotate players. I mean, Luis Alberto still keeps trying to score on every single corner kick. And who does it take the corner kick next week? Luis Alberto. I don't understand why. What are you doing in the training? Is Luis Alberto scoring on every corner kick? And so he said, next time I will score in an official match. I don't understand why. I mean, it's 4 years. 4 years he's trying to score on a corner kick. We know that he's not Veron or Milinkovic or Mijalovic who regularly score on corner kicks. So why do you keep going?
Honestly, for some reason, I guess it's because everything else is very frustrating at the moment, and you need something to kind of sum up the frustration. But I find myself getting angrier, I think, with the corners than almost anything else. It's like I think I get more annoyed when I see one of those corners than when I see someone missing a chance. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And we just had a conversation about that before this game, and you quite rightly said, it's basically an opportunity for the opposition to counter-attack when Lazio have a corner. And it was just like that again. I mean, it's just awful. It's just been so poor in that regard. But yeah, I mean, the formation question, we have talked about this again. I would say the same thing I usually say, which is that in very rare but a few occasions this season, we have seen Inzaghi try a back four during games. And it's not been particularly impressive. If you look at the squad we've got, I don't think we've got enough wingers, that we've got enough fullbacks to actually play a 4-3-3, for example, with any great success. I don't think that's going to be the cure-all that's going to completely change everything. But I do think that he could do with mixing up the players he's using and perhaps the roles that they're being given in his 3-5-2 if he's going to stick with it all the time.
Also, the thing that drives me crazy is after Juventus defeat, Inzaghi said on TV, no, the team is the best I had. It's complete. So why doesn't he rotate? I mean, if he says the team is good, then why Pereira never started? Why Luis Alberto, Milinkovic Savic, etc. always starts? I mean, Milinkovic Savic, the last match he missed, I think, was Udinese Lazio of last November,
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. Again, it brings me back to the same thing again. The people who are complaining about Inzaghi, the people who are saying they've had enough. I am wondering as every week goes by if that's exactly what's going to happen. I do have this suspicion that the contract situation is not as cut and dry as they're trying to pretend it is. They were asked about it again before this game, I think it was. Oh yeah, the contract's done. Well, Tito, we've worked together for years. We've got a great relationship. We understand each other. Well, sign the contract then.
There's something going on.
There has to be, and it's while this is going on and there's been a bad transfer market and Lazio might go out in the Champions League, I do wonder if that's the direction we're heading in. But we'll have to see.
Tom is asking about Strakosha. Will Strakosha come back on the pitch, or will Inzaghi continue with Reina, who can play it out of the back? We were talking about Reina, right? I thought he made more than a couple of mistakes in the last month. Bologna against Juventus, the two first goals are mistakes of Reina. I think it's time for Strakosha to come back. Don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was my immediate reaction to this game, was just that it feels like it's gone stale and feels like there's very simple things that can be done to try and freshen it up, including reinstating Strakosha and bringing in Pereira from the start. Just two simple things that will actually help breathe some life into this Lazio team. And Strakosha doesn't deserve to be out of the team anymore. If Inzaghi is going to bench players like Masaccio for making mistakes, then I think it's time Reina sat out some matches. He's 38 years old. He is not the long-term future. Strakosha sitting on the bench is doing nothing for anyone, because if Lazio sees Strakosha as the future, then he needs to be playing. If Lazio think they want to sell Strakosha, he needs to be playing to keep his value up. There's no way they're going to get as much of a fee for him at the end of this season as they would have at the end of last. if he's being put on the bench for a kind of inconsistent Pepe Reina, who was beaten at his near post because he keeps doing the same thing that keeps frustrating me, which is he's anticipating the ball going across goal all the time. And I've seen him do it so many matches this season, and I keep thinking that one of these days someone's going to ping it in the front post.
and that happened twice on Saturday.
Yeah. So, yeah, it does. I mean, from the early kind of reports this week, it does sound like Strykosz got a chance at least of being in the team. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Alistair, there's a question I know you like to answer from Ali Adza. You guys are on Clubhouse?
No, we don't have a clubhouse yet. I think Vittorio's looking into buying some property near the stadium so we can set up a clubhouse.
No, Ali, we are not on Clubhouse. Alistair doesn't even know what it is, so it could be really difficult for us. But, I mean, if you want, we can try. We can try. Lazio's playing on Friday. Terrible timing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it because 3 o'clock on Friday, it's quite complicated. And then there is Bayern Munich. What would you do, Alistair? Would you play the best team Friday against Crotone, or would you rotate and put the best team against Bayern? Because if you don't play the best team, there's a big risk that, you can lose heavily against Bayern Munich.
My policy for the return leg of the Bayern game is to very much go down the Torino route and just not turn up. Just let them have it. Okay, 3-0 is fine, guys. You can take 3-0. No, I think at this stage, like we've said, with the tie being the way it is, Lazio have to put their strongest team out against Crotone and have to put absolutely everything they've got into that game, because Crotone, in classic fashion, have gone and changed coaches recently, brought in Cesc Cosmi, blast from the past, and he's gone and won a game. And Crotone don't win games, and now, obviously, the week before they play Lazio, they win a game. So they're going to come up to Rome with a bit more belief than they've had in months. And I think, like we were saying towards the start, I think Lazio have to win this game if they're going to have any chance at all of qualifying for the Champions League. And if they don't, I think it's done. You can't not get even a draw. You can't not beat Crotone at home and expect to be in the top four. So, yeah, I think it's huge. I think they have to put the best team out.
I would add that not beating Crotone would be even dangerous for the Europe League, because we are behind Napoli and Atalanta and Roma, etc. So we need points to get back at least in the Europe League.
And then we're at risk of ending up in the Conference League. And if you think the Europa League is a depressing competition, the Conference League is going to be something else.
Yeah. So is it started next year? I thought in 2 years' time.
I thought it was next year. Maybe it isn't 2 years, but I thought it was next year. I can look that up quickly, so that I should already know that, to be fair. It's just absolutely crazy. If people aren't aware of this, it's starting this year, so it's a third-tier European competition below the Europa League, which is kind of like the Europa League B team competition. So it's going to be for all those teams finishing on the fringes of the Europa League places, which is where Lazio are right now.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Anyway, thank you again, Alistair, for listening, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Well, I hope Alistair was listening too, to be honest. Remember, you can rate and review our podcast on iTunes and listen and subscribe on Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon, and wherever you love to listen your podcast. Thanks again, guys, and we're going to be back after Lazio Crotone. Bye.
Ciao.